What is going on, family? What is happening? It's your boy Marcus Washington. You're on the mark where we talk everything Falcons football, man. I hope you are having a fantastic Wednesday. Looks good outside. I don't know if it feels good outside because I have yet to be to get out there. Um, but yeah, man. So before I get into it, shout out to Berto, Smitty, Chris, for inviting me on their platform yesterday. Man, we had a uh, real cool chat, um, and this is what leads me to my video today. So, man, I woke up this morning. I had people had commented on the video. I got some messages on Facebook because I do have Facebook Messenger. I'm not on Facebook, and a couple of text messages saying, "Dude, what are you talking about, man?" Um, one of my friends called me. He had caught it on my channel, and he was like, "Man, I don't know how I feel about that. I just got to keep it a buck, man. I don't know how I feel about that," and that's cool. That is absolutely cool. Um, I'm not saying that this is something the Falcons must do. For me, my proposal just seems like, for me, it just seems like the most ideal without giving up draft capital. Because any other way you go, you're going to have to give up draft capital. Russell Wilson is still under contract. So the way that it's looking with Denver, we don't know what they're going to do with Russell Wilson. They talked to Sean Payton over the Super Bowl weekend, and he was very scarce about information, but he did say that Russell Wilson does want to be there. Whether that's true or not, we don't know. But with the money that they're paying Russell Wilson, it would behoove them to stand pat with that. Because you're going to be paying him, what, $40 million, regardless of if he's on the roster or not next year. You look at the fact that, Justin Fields is going to cost you draft capital. And you're going to have to pay him. So that's what I was looking at. With that, like you're going to have to pay Justin Fields. You're going to have to extend him. So you're talking about that's going to be about 180 off rip for a quarterback that really a lot of people feel controversial about. A lot of people say he's trash. I say, well, look at what team he went to. That team offloaded a lot of talent while Justin Fields was there. A lot of talent. Some people want him. Some people are like, man, you do what you got to do to go get him. My thought process is, if that's your guy all along, you do what you got to do. For me, when I looked at Kirk Cousins, I just looked at the numbers last year. His numbers were better than both of those quarterbacks when he was healthy. They were better than both. And the fact that you don't need any draft capital to get him. He'd probably be okay with signing a short-term contract because he's been doing that in Minnesota the last couple of years. Now, the Achilles injury is definitely something you got to watch after. But I see people that are, and somebody hit me up earlier and they were like, man, he's 36. We should have kept Matt Ryan if that was the case. And the thing is, Matt Ryan was cooked. He was cooked. And the season in Indiana pretty much proved that. Kirk Cousins was on pace to have his best season of his career. Matt Ryan was not on pace to have his best season. What was that, 2020 when we got up off of him? Man, that Achilles at 36, I don't know. Well, I mean, you got Aaron Rodgers who has the same damn injury. He's 40. Now, some people say, well, you can't even put Kirk in the same category as Aaron Rodgers. Okay, but it's the same injury. I'm not looking at talent. I'm looking at injury. If a 40-year-old can recover inside of a year, so can a 36-year-old. So now let me preference this by saying, fam, y'all know I don't care where we go. If they decide to go Russ, if they decide to go Justin Fields, if they decide to go Kirk Cousins, if they decide to jump up in the draft, which would shock me, y'all know me, it is what it is. Whoever we decide to choose at quarterback, let's ride. Now, some people hit me up about jumping up to 4 to get Marvin Harrison Jr. and like, yeah, that's wild. But then I'm like, look at what we did with Julio. We sold the farm to get Julio. And Julio was an absolute beast up until he left here. So I get it, I sometimes, certain names are fighting words. I understand that, but he's been linked to us for a while, fam. It wasn't just after the season. Kirk Cousins has been linked to us for a minute. Even when there was Belichick talk, there was Kirk Cousins talk right behind that. So let me get to some of these comments, man. Just a few in here. What's going on, Keonis? He says, what it do on this good Wednesday? What's happening? Boogie, what's going on? He says, what's good? Finally got here at the beginning of the show. Appreciate it, man. Francis, she says, what's up, Marcus? If we get Cousins, we need to get a quarterback in the draft, then I'll feel good about it. I'm going to address that too. Then she says, what's up, Marcus? Okay, same thing. I got you. Eldrick, what's going on? What's going on? What's happening, April? What's going on with you? And what's going on with you too, Monica? What's happening? Now, I agree. If you do get Cousins, you do need a succession plan, whether it be this year or whether it be next year. So you definitely would need to draft a quarterback, maybe preferably this year, seeing how, you're looking at guys like Brock Purdy, who was drafted last in the draft, and you see what he's doing with San Francisco. Now, it's yet to be determined whether that's him or the sum of the Niners' parts on offense. We will find out if they get off of Brandon Ayuk. We'll find out immediately if it's Brock Purdy doing all this work, or is it the talent that he's got around him on offense. But I definitely agree. I think that you do need to get a quarterback for the future. This is why I'm talking Kirk Cousins, because it gives you a 2-year to maybe 3-year window to get a quarterback, to let him sit behind Kirk Cousins, learn the game, and then by the time it's his turn at bat, he's ready. Kind of what happened with Jordan Love. We don't really see this a lot no more. Teams are getting quarterbacks, and right off the bat, they're starting. And mind you, when you go 1, 2, 3, 4, you're on bad teams. Look at what's happening with Bryce Young in Carolina. He's on a bad team. So what's a quarterback supposed to do with no offensive line, no run game, no real true number one wide receiver from Gate, and he's a rookie? What are you supposed to do with that? So a lot of these quarterbacks are failing coming right out of the draft because they're on bad teams. And then there's such an expectation for them literally coming from the college level to excel on a bad team. Hence what happened to Justin Fields. Hence, what's happening to Bryce Young. Hence, what actually happened to Zach Wilson. Now, what made Jordan Love so different? Jordan Love got to sit behind one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time for not 1, not 2, but 3 years. That's how it used to be. You know, we're looking at guys like Tom Brady. Tom Brady got to sit behind somebody in Drew Bledsoe. They didn't draft Tom Brady and then immediately rush Tom Brady out there to start playing football. You look at a guy like C.J. Stroud, man, those are exceptions. That's not the rule. And C.J. had a little to work with when he was there, when he got there. He had a little to work. He had a little to work with. That's what happened with Desmond Ridder. He comes in, he's sitting behind Marcus Mariota, who is a proverbial bench player. But ironically, that's what happened to Marcus Mariota also. So when you get these guys and you're rushing them out there to play immediately on bad teams, they start to develop what I dub the knockout mechanic. And I'll explain what the knockout mechanic is. Let me get to some of these comments real quick. G says, what's up, Marcus? Finally able to catch you. This master's program has me busy as hell. Well, keep churning. Keep churning. Mill says, let's get Cousins and draft a young QB. Okay. King Atlanta supporter says, what's up? He also says, I got a feeling we're getting a free agent quarterback, not drafting one. Then he also says, Desmond Ridder can really get help from Kirk or whoever they choose. So this is what the knockout mechanic is. In boxing, you'll have, like, let's say a prospect, a top prospect. You know, he's beaten up on, you know, everybody that's come his way. Usually when you got a prospect coming up, you know, the promoters, they'll always throw a soft touch at him. So, you know, this is how guys like fluff their numbers and get up to like 22-0 and stuff like that. They're fighting bums. But then when they get in the ring with not even a real one, because there have been some bums that have done this too, and they knock these guys out. And then these guys spend the rest of their careers getting knocked out. That's what the knockout mechanism is. It even happens to the greats. Happened to Roy Jones. Roy Jones at one time was Floyd Mayweather before Floyd Mayweather was Floyd Mayweather. And he got knocked out by Antonio Tarver. And from that point on, Roy Jones had the knockout mechanism. He was getting knocked out by damn near nobodies. And that's what happens to these quarterbacks when they come out. When you look at a guy like Zach Wilson, guy's broken now. You look at the prospect, all the potential in the world, but you rushed him out there. And then you had a plan when you brought Aaron Rodgers in, which was a good plan. You brought Aaron Rodgers in, one of the greatest, and you're going to have this kid study underneath him. Then the Achilles happens. Now you got to march him back out there when he's not ready, and he's still got the knockout mechanism in him. what happened to Desmond Ritter is no different than what happened to Zach Wilson. Dez has no quality guy to study from. So would a veteran QB who actually has some cachet, who players love playing with, this is another reason why I lean towards Kirk Cousins. Those guys in Minnesota and Washington loved playing with Kirk Cousins. Kirk knows how to get that locker room. You look over in Denver, there was some talk about Russell Wilson, his first year being there, him having his own office, all this other stuff. Players kind of looked at him a little different. So I take all this into accountability, but still, you do have to look at the Achilles. Not saying that my way is the right way. It's just for me, that just makes better sense right now in the interim. Then you get your quarterback. Then you let him study up underneath that. On top of that, we technically got two quarterback coaches. We got TJ Yates sitting there, and Zach Robinson has experience as a quarterback coach. On top of getting a veteran QB in here. Kenny, what's happening? He says, "What's up, fam? My only pushback with Cousins are obviously one, his injury. Two, I'm wondering if the last season pace he was on was only to the fact that he knew he was on a contract push, then becomes mediocre." One, I definitely agree with you 100%. Two, I'm not sure it was because he was pushing for a new contract. I think it was just a situation where, quarterbacks hit their stride. Because remember, Jefferson went out. So even if he would have had a bad season up until he got hurt, I think people would have understood that. Like, his number one guy is out. Alexander Madison is doing absolutely nothing in the run game. So, I mean, Cousins had every right to really lay an egg and be like, hey, we ain't have nothing this year. But he was excelling when, good grief. And then you can put some of that on Chris O'Connell, who comes from that Rams coaching tree, who comes from that McVay tree. Second year there. His first year there, they were like 13-4. So I think it was just more or less Kirk finding a rhythm and being that baller. But that first one, I 100% agree with you, fam. I got to see what that Achilles is looking like, bro. Are you going to be ready? Are you going to be ready week one? Because this is a plug-and-play quarterback. This is a guy that he's going to fit right into the system because Zach Robinson also comes from up underneath that McVay tree. So my take on it is, Kirk, are you going to be 100% week one? If you're 100% and we can vouch for that, I'm cool with that. April says, what do you think about Justin Fields coming to us, Mark? Box office. I think Justin Fields coming home would definitely, his jersey would definitely sell out for sure. Hell, I'd get a Fields jersey. Like it would definitely be blockbuster. I would expect us to have the number one rushing offense every year that he's here. The play action pass, it's almost impossible to stop when you got Kyle Pitts, when you got a Jonnu Smith, when you got a guy that can come out of the backfield. Man, Jesus, that it would just be hard to contain. My only pushback on Justin is you got to give up draft capital and you got to pay him. So that might affect us in the long term when you're talking about acquiring, keeping Kyle Pitts, keeping Drake, that type of stuff. That stuff might come into play when you're dealing with, giving a quarterback, and he's going to want that right off rip. So you're already looking at, somewhere around $160 to $180 million off rip before he throws a single ball. And, Justin has been hurt in his career too. Missed a couple of games last year. But if that's the route they want to go, I'm like, man, if the draft cap, if you're not selling the farm on him, you can get him for, a second rounder, or pull off a Matt Ryan type of deal where you can get him for a third rounder. But I don't think that's going to happen because Chicago is in a great and a bad place right now. And if I recall, I woke up this morning and Justin Fields had unfollowed. Matter of fact, let me double check that. When I woke up this morning, I think I saw Justin Fields unfollow the Chicago Bears. So he might be telling on the Bears. Let me see. Boy, I cannot spell when I'm talking. Let's see. So Bleacher Report, Justin Fields explains and following Bears amid Caleb Williams trade rumors. Okay, I'm gonna read this because it's a video. It's hold on. Okay, you know what? Let me go ahead and play this. I'm gonna share my screen here real quick with you guys. All right, so this is Justin Fields, I guess, talking about why he unfollowed.
Hold on.
But I mean,
no. Since we're here,
all right,
what's with the unfollow with the Bears? What's up with that?
man, bro, I'm glad we're talking about it because why do people take social media so serious?
But like, why are you unfollowing the Bears?
Like, I still mess with the Bears. I'm just trying to take a little break. I unfollow the Bears and the NFL, bro. I'm not just trying to have football on my timeline. Like, I know y'all mess with a girl, EQ, especially you. Just because you don't follow the girl on IG, don't mean you're not messing with her.
That's true. That's true. That's facts. That's facts.
Oh, so you're saying you mess with the Bears more now that you unfollow them?
Man, it's not even like that.
Okay.
It's something that I don't want to see in my timeline. I'm about to go on vacation. I don't want to see no football. And guess what?
Just get a little away for a little bit.
It's either keep Fields. We want Fields. It's either drive Caleb. So it's like, bro, man, I'm tired of hearing the talk. I just want it to be over.
Okay, I don't buy that I don't buy that for a second. I'm sorry. The way these kids do these things these days, when they unfollow, they're done. He says that he just doesn't want to hear all the talk and all this, that, and the other. That's another key indicator that he don't want to be there, right? So, and then here's another thing. You can always just uninstall the app. If you're going on hiatus, just uninstall the app. Monica says Bleacher Report just released a statement. Justin wants to play for Chicago. That's what they all say until they don't. Just like with Denver and Sean Payton saying Russ wants to be there. We don't know these things until it pans out. So Chicago is in a very weird situation, man, because one, you got quarterbacks sitting there at one that you can take. Two, you got to look at the financial sense, right? I can get a Caleb, get him on a 4-year rookie contract with a 5th-year option, meaning I don't really have to pay this guy anything until that 5th year. if I decide to pick it up. Then I can always franchise tag. If I keep Justin, we got to pay him right now. So they're in a very weird situation to where, and this is why I just don't think they're going to come up off of that number 1 pick. It's easier really to offload Justin Fields, get a pick, maybe 2, and then go with a quarterback who you might think is better than Justin Fields, who you don't have to pay. Retool your team. Their defense is starting to look pretty good. And then they got another pick, in the top 10? Man, hey. Now that I'm sitting here talking, it kind of does make it a little tougher. To me, I think it's between Fields and Kirk Cousins. I just don't want to give up no pick. Or pay a guy 180 from rip. Red Swarm says, Justin also said, I'm tired of all the talk. I just want it to be over. Yeah. And he's saying it with a smile on his face the whole time. King says he really doesn't know. I believe it. I think that Chicago is gonna go. They're gonna get a quarterback at 1, man. It just financially it makes better sense to do that. April says, me either, Marcus. Yeah. Monica says 1, Watson didn't happen. 2, Lamar didn't happen. 3, Justin Fields not happening. Who's it going to be next year? Watson, I understand. 230 million fully guaranteed. If I'm Deshaun Watson, I'm walking away from Atlanta also. That's fully guaranteed. I'm gone. I'm gone. Lamar, I think Lamar was residue from Watson. I think a lot of these owners were probably scared to jump out there and reset the quarterback market. I think if Watson never happened, Lamar would not be with the Ravens, or the Ravens would have been forced to match. So I think Lamar that was bad timing coming right off the Watson situation. And I think honestly, none of these owners wanted to jump out there and say, hey, listen, I'll pay him $230 million too. Us really being in a situation to where salary cap wise, it was just tough. It was tough. Because we were still straddled by contracts. So I think, with the front office of Atlanta, it's like, hey, listen, let's come out of salary cap hell. Let's do that first and then start building the team, which is what they've started doing. Justin Fields, that's a tricky one because Justin ain't going to go for $200 million. I don't see that. 180 to me is his ceiling. That's his ceiling. I wouldn't be shocked if it was 160. Justin Fields to me is not a $200 million quarterback at all. He hasn't done enough to warrant 200 or 180 if I'm sitting here talking. But we'll see. I have no idea who it's going to be. But it has to be somebody who financially makes sense and who football-wise can get this team over the hump. And that's why I'm looking towards a guy like Kirk Cousins. One of our main issues the last 2 years is we could not get the ball to the playmakers, especially last year. We had too many games where Kyle Pitts had 4 yards. Drake London had 2 receptions. And then guys like Scotty Miller, they weren't even seeing targets. Van Jefferson got here, barely saw anything. We can put a lot of this on the quarterback. We can put a lot of that on the head coach also. But now we got a new head coach, and Desmond Ridder isn't going to be starting. And a guy like Kirk Cousins, that's his thing, is to get the ball to the playmaker. That's what he does. And it's not going to cost you any draft capital. So that's what I'm looking at. April, let me get April's comment real quick. She says, do you think he already knows where he's going to go next year? I don't think he knows. I don't think he knows where he's going next year. I do think he's probably trying to talk his way out of Chicago, though. Unfollowing him. And then, earlier this year, he said something about the coaching. Then had to come back and try to clarify what he said, but everybody knew what he was talking about. You know what I mean? So I don't think he wants to be there. And I think Chicago's in a situation where it probably benefits them for him not to be there. So you keep him, you got to pay him. So if you're already non-committal on Justin Fields as an organization, why would you keep him and be forced to sign him long-term for another 4 years when you got the number 1 pick? And Chicago is going to want the farm for the number 1 pick. And if I'm the two teams, honestly, let's do this, fam. Let's do this. Let me pull this up. Let's look at the draft order. So we got Chicago at 1. We got the Commanders at 2. Commanders don't have to jump up to get a quarterback. They don't, because there's going to be 3 sitting right there. The Patriots also don't have to jump up to 1 because one of these 3 quarterbacks is going to fall to them. Then you got Arizona, right? They just paid Kyler Murray a couple years ago. What was that, 1 or 2 years ago? I don't see Arizona jumping 3, 2, or 1 to get another quarterback unless they trade. They get up off of Kyler Murray. So I don't see that happening. Next, you got the Chargers. Well, the Chargers are straight with Justin Herbert. They're not going anywhere. The Giants might be the team that you look at being stupid enough to give up the farm, to maybe move up to 1, maybe 2. I think the Patriots are picking a quarterback no matter what, because I don't think they have confidence in Mac Jones, and then you got a new head coach there. He's going to want his guy. So I don't see them doing that. Right behind them, you have the Tennessee Titans. Now, that might be tough too, because we're not the only teams that are looking at Justin Fields. We're not the only team that are looking at Kirk Cousins. We're not the only team that's looking at Russell Wilson. There are other teams on the bubble looking at this also. So, but Tennessee, could they possibly go up? Maybe. I'd have to see what their draft capital is. Maybe. But out of 1 through 7, I think the Giants would be the only team that would make a leap like that. But then also, they could be looking at these quarterbacks as well on free agency. Then it's us at 8. I just, for the life of me, I would not jump to get a quarterback. That's just me. I wouldn't do that. Now, I'd jump to get Marvin Harrison. But also, even with that situation, I'm looking at the Brandon Ayuk situation. I'm looking at Mike Evans' situation in Tampa Bay. That seems to be, wobbly at the moment. So I'm looking at those also. And those are, verifiable number 1s as far as wide receiver. But also, I'd be looking at Marvin Harrison, seeing, in fact, I'd jump up because I get him for 4 years on the rookie scale contract, and I get to pick up the 5th-year option. So I'm looking at that as well. Behind us, you got the New York Jets. They're not going anywhere because they expect Aaron Rodgers to be back next year. The Minnesota Vikings, that's tricky. Seeing what they do with Kirk Cousins, I jumping from 11-1. Then you got Denver. So you got teams that are right now, they're on the bubble. You don't, from what I've seen, is Kirk Cousins is probably going to become an unrestricted free agent. Minnesota is not trying to give him another fully guaranteed contract. So that's the holdup there. Because for the 6 years he's been there, he's gotten fully guaranteed money. Denver, again, that's a tough thing because if you jump up to 3, you're giving up draft capital. And I don't even know if they got draft capital because they gave up a lot to get Russell Wilson. That was 2 years ago. And then you got to pay him $40 million. So them going up is just, to me, absolutely stupid. But then again, they sat the boy because they didn't want to pay the injuries. So, I mean, you know, you make it that what you will. Then you got the Las Vegas Raiders. That's a huge jump from 13 to, I'd say 13-2, because I think the Patriots are picking a quarterback. So we're talking 2-1. They would pay a ransom. They would pay an absolute ransom. Then you got the Saints. Well, they got Derek Carr. You got the Colts. Colts picked up their quarterback in Richardson last year. You got the Seahawks. Well, I think the Seahawks just gave Geno Smith another contract. Jacksonville, you know, you got the, you know, blonde-haired Jesus up there. Trevor Lawrence, who isn't going anywhere. Cincinnati is at 18. They got Joe Burrow. The Rams got Stafford, and on and on and on. So we're talking about the Giants. I can see the Giants doing it. The Raiders would have to give up. They'd have to give up the farm to move up. So that's 2. And then some of these teams like Minnesota and Denver, they're on the bubble. You don't know what they're going to do. I mean, I'd throw Tennessee in there, man. So you got New York sitting at 6. You got Tennessee sitting at 7. So really, there's not a lot of teams that are going to jump up to do that. You know, hold on, let me get the King. King says, I want Aaron Donald. Let me look at Aaron Donald real quick. So Aaron Donald is he's on until 2026. Actually 2025. They got Void on here too. Hold on. All right. So, and he's what? Aaron Donald is 33. Yeah, he's still under contract from what I'm seeing. I think it's voided in 2025. That's the voidable year. So yeah, you'd be giving up draft capital over there. All right, let's look at the Rams free agents. So Jordan Fuller is the free agent that I would be looking at off rip. You got all these other guys, they're not really So Jordan Fuller would be the only guy I would be looking at in free agency. You got Carson Wentz sitting up here. That's a no-no. So yeah, Aaron Donald's still under contract. Seth wants me to share the screen. All right, let me do that real quick. All right, so this is who they have as far as free agents. They have Carson Wentz, Demarcus Robinson, Troy Reader, Akello Witherspoon, John Johnson, Duke Shelley, Kevin Dotson, Bryce Hopkins, Larrell Murchison, Jonah Williams, Austin Trammell, Jordan Fuller, Tremaine Antrim. Boy, some of these names, Antrim. Sorry if I mispronounce your last name. Christian Rosenboom, Alaric Jackson, Ronnie Rivers, and Mike Hoyt. So that's who you have. That's who the Rams have as far as free agents on the defensive side. Well, no, that's all positions actually. So that's all their free agents. So you'd have to give up something to get Aaron Donald. Which they've kind of hinted at. They weren't finished over there in LA, so we'll see. We'll see. But Atlanta says I don't think he is, but Chris Jones is. I think if I'm not mistaken, they can put another franchise tag on him. If they put another franchise tag on Chris Jones, though, it's something ridiculous, though. So they're gonna have to figure out. They're gonna have to figure out a contract for Chris Jones, because right now, he's kind of proven what his worth is when it comes to that team. He's proven it. So, I don't think Chris Jones is going anywhere with the Chiefs. Monica says, I thought they paid him. I don't think they. Hold on. No, I don't. Matter of fact, hold on. Let's look at his contract, because you might be right. Let's see, Chris Jones contract. Because I know he sat out for like 2 days. And then next thing we know, he was in there. Yeah, it's voided. Yeah, his contract is voided. He got paid. His prorated signing bonus this year was $8 million. His cap number was, Jesus Christ, $29 million. Yeah, so they got to work out a contract with him. So 5 days ago, it says Chiefs pick up Chris Jones contract option, retain right to Jesus Christ, they franchise tagged him again, or they retained the right to franchise tag him, but they couldn't put the franchise tag on anybody until yesterday. So let's look at if they've actually done it. All I'm seeing is they picked up the contract option, so they have the right to franchise tag him. So he's going to get paid the $4 million in incentives. Okay, so they're gonna have to work out a contract. But you got to keep that guy. You got to keep that guy on the Chiefs, fam. You got to. If I'm the Chiefs, there's no way I'm letting Chris Jones go. No way. But you know, it's gonna be interesting as the minutes, hours, days, and weeks count down. Before we know it, we'll be right up on the draft. You know, these guys, I think they get to tamper next Monday, if I'm not mistaken. Legally tamper. And you'll start to see a lot of movement, especially when free agency opens up. It's going to be sharks in the water. So we won't have to play the guessing game anymore. We'll see where some of these dominoes fall. And then before you know it, it's the draft. And then we're, you know, at OTAs, training camp, and getting to take a peek at, you know, what our retooled team looks like. But, you know, for me, you know, my Kirk Cousins proposal, if it falls down, then fine. You know, I'm cool with that. If they decide not to go that way, hey, I'm cool. It's just what I would propose. I do think when it comes to excitement, I think Justin Fields would move the needle a lot more than Kirk Cousins. But there are a lot of things that come with that, that I am concerned with. You know, salary cap, what happens down the road, you know, how much are you willing to pay him? What draft capital are you giving up? So it's a lot of other stuff that comes into play with that. And for me, I want all our draft capital. I ain't giving up that 8th. I ain't giving up a first rounder next year. None of that. But anyway, that is our little TED Talk today, fam. I'm excited for what's to come for this team, man. I am excited. Even though we had the year that we had, I'm excited for this new regime. I'm excited to see what Terry Fontenot cooks up, because Terry's been cooking. Since he's been here, Terry has been cooking. Now, some people say, well, you can't give him credit for the salary cap because it was going to clear up. Yeah, that's true. But what he's done, you know, with acquiring talent and acquiring pieces that were impactful immediately. Going to get somebody like Calais Campbell, who was impactful immediately when Grady Jarrett went down. Going to get Kendavius Street. Impact was immediate till he got hurt. Somebody like Nate Landman, Jesse Bates, Bijan Robinson. This all happened under his watch. Tyler Algier, a diamond in the rough. You know, we look at Tyler Algier and have amnesia, like we did not remember when Tyler Algier was 3rd on the depth chart. Huntley wasn't even on the roster. Then Damian Williams gets hurt. They elevate Tyler Algier up to RB2, and then Cordell Patterson gets hurt. Then he becomes running back number 1, goes for 1,000 yards. And Caleb Huntley was right there behind him. You know, that was a diamond in the rough. Wallace says, what's going on with you, Mark? And your cousin's proposal makes more sense because he's already familiar with the scheme because the Vikings head coach came from the Rams. Yeah, it's just, you know, whichever way they go, I'm down for. You know, other people's suggestions, hey, I'm down for that too, man. You know, this is just mine. After just thinking about this over and over and over again and what makes sense in the immediate and the future. And to me, I keep going around it, and this is the thing that makes the most sense. You know, and the fact that Minnesota is not really checking on Cousins like that. The front office, they reached out just to touch base with them. I read that was like 2 days ago that they reached out to him last week. Hey, how you doing? They ain't offering no contract, no nothing. And this is a guy that the organization can get behind, and teammates will play their ass off for this guy. Armani, what's going on? I didn't even see you up there. He says, winning is winning. The old saying goes, you get what you pay for. Either way, you're going to have to pay somebody. Agreed. So you got to look at it this way. Do you want to give Kirk Cousins guaranteed money for 2 years that might cost you at the most, if you're talking $40 million a year, you're talking $80 million? Or do you want to pay Justin Fields? And the $80 million comes with no draft capital, none. So you get to retain your draft capital. You pay the man $80 million for 2 years. And that's a quality QB for this type of team that has weapons around it. Or would you want to go get Justin Fields, who's a lot younger? His potential has yet to be explored truthfully, but you're going to have to give up draft capital, and you're going to have to sign him to a 4-year extension. Or do you take a look at Russell Wilson? You know, get him on the cheap. You're going to have to trade for him. So the Broncos are going to get draft capital back, and they're not just going to offload Russell Wilson for a second or third rounder. They're not going to. They gave up too much for Russell Wilson. So they're going to at least want 2 to 3 picks back for him. So are you willing to give that up? Bring Russell Wilson here. You know, so there are decisions that you have to make in this position. They have to hit a home run in this position. Or do you move up to 2 or 1 and give up the farm for a rookie QB who you're going to have to implement in your system immediately? So that's what you're left with. And I think, man, there's no way in hell I believe that Raheem Morris came in here with no game plan for quarterback. There's no way I'm buying that at all. The moves that he made, it ain't no way. They got their eyes on a guy, but they can't talk right now. Their tongues are literally tied. They cannot say anything. And that's the smart thing. You don't want to come out and say, well, we're looking at this. No. But the one thing I do know for sure, they ain't talked about Desmond Ridder. They have not said a peep about Desmond Ridder. Matter of fact, the only thing I've really heard is when Arthur Blank said, yeah, and I'm paraphrasing, but yeah, the quarterbacks that we had, Dez and Taylor, it's kind of easy to say we underachieved. Hey, no, you think Arthur Blank gonna run that combination back? No. And like I said, when coaches come in, they want their guy. They want their guy. Archangel says they said they're going to be aggressive. Oh, as soon as free agency starts, fam, I would be shocked if Atlanta ain't making no moves. Kenneth says Blank, Robinson, and Yates have talked about Ritter. Blank didn't talk about Ritter I've watched those interviews. He has not talked about Ritter starting for this team at all. Zach Robinson, I've only seen the interview that he did with Torrey, which we covered on here. Then they did the press conference, which I hadn't watched. But I can almost guarantee you he wasn't talking about Ritter starting either. Furthermore, the fan base ain't even talked about Ritter starting, honestly. That's a lottery ticket dream right there. Nobody's talking scouting report if you're going to retain Ritter as your number one guy, which is what Raheem Morris did in the first press conference when he was asked about this. And he said, we're going to cover every angle. And then he mentioned the scouting. I'm like, yeah, your boy gone. your boy gone. Now, I think bringing in veteran help helps Desmond Ritter. If you're going to retain him, it helps him. Because Marcus Mariota was not the guy that you should have put as Desmond Ritter's mentor, because he suffers the same thing that Ritter is suffering now. And then the way Marcus Mariota left after he got benched, that ain't the type of mentorship you need to give to a kid like that, man. A kid like that needs to first learn the speed of the game. 2, learn what he's looking at. And in that case, a guy like Russell Wilson, proven winner, Super Bowl champion, should have been a 2-time Super Bowl winning champion, to be honest. A guy who has carried a team before. A guy who, used to use his legs pretty often. Now he's lost a step or two. But that's the type of guy you can get to coach, to help coach a guy like Ritter up. Kirk Cousins the same way. But I think, if they do decide to retain, here's the situation with Desmond Ritter. Desmond Ritter's going into his 3rd year. He's not starting this year. So next year will be his last year on his contract. He's probably not starting next year either. That's why I said this year was detrimental to that kid. So he needs to soak up as much information as he possibly can within the next 2 years to get better, because he might not be on this roster in the next 2 years. So wherever else he goes, he's soaked up enough game. And then it's still going to be hard for him to find himself in a position to start. He's going to have to be in a situation where a guy gets hurt and he comes in. And in that moment, he needs to take full advantage of that. But right now, he's got to sit down and learn. Which I think he'll be able to do under Zach Robinson, under TJ, under veteran presence. But right now, he's not it. And you talking about the Civil War we had last year. Boy, imagine if Raheem Morris came out and said, we're going to ride with Ritter. Man, people would go ape shit up in here. Art says, Ritter may end up being a starter one day on someone's team, but not this team. It's not impossible. You saw what happened with Geno Smith. But look at how long it took. It took Geno a while. And in multiple teams before he got that opportunity. It's gonna be one of those situations. I don't see Desmond Ritter starting inside the next 3 or 4 years. But when he does get his opportunity, he needs to take full advantage of that opportunity. If in 6 or 7 years, Desmond Ritter's playing on another team and he's the starter, he's the number one starter, number one guy, and he actually does good, I give him his props. Just like Geno. Everybody deserves a second bite at the apple. And I feel, and I said this all year. After, I think, what was it, week 5, week 6, somewhere around that, I said I ain't putting no more of these losses on Ritter. I'm putting every one of these losses on Arthur Smith, because Ritter ain't even supposed to be out there right now. But in a couple of years, 5, 6, 7, he turns out to be the stud that a lot of people said he was gonna be. Fine. Y'all ain't winning no awards over here. Millie says, or maybe he can become a journeyman like Fitzmagic. Yeah. You know, Fitz would get on the team and give you 4 or 5 games of absolute explosive play. And then the old Fitz comes out. The old Fitz comes out. But we will see. We'll see how this roster turns out, because, you know, there's always surprises there at the end. You know what I mean? So we'll see. But let me give you guys a date on all of this stuff while I'm sitting here. A lot of you guys probably already know. Excuse me. A lot of you guys probably already know the dates. So we have the NFL. Well, I was wrong. The 2024 NFL legal tampering period is less than 3 weeks away, beginning at noon Eastern time on March 11th. Teams will be allowed to contact and enter into contract negotiations with agents of players who will become unrestricted free agents on March 13th, the start of the new year. So I got that wrong. I'm thinking Monday for whatever reason. So that will be March 11th. So keep your eyes on March 11th and March 13th. So let's see. The franchise tag period is February 20th to March 5th. March 11th, legal tampering period starts. March 13th, free agency opens, and the new year begins. So you'll start to hear news between March 11th and March 12th, and then March 13th they'll make a lot of this stuff official. So let me look here. Oh, okay, here we go. Right here, these are the top NFL free agents. So you got Chris Jones as a free agent. Kirk Cousins will be a free agent. Boy, these names. Justin, I'm not even going to try and pronounce it. He plays for the Ravens. He's a defensive tackle. Josh Allen for the Jaguars, offensive line. Yeah. Oh shit, I'm looking at something else. Okay, so he's available. Antoine Winfield Jr., Buccaneers safety. Christian Wilkins, Dolphins defensive lineman, or defensive linebacker, whatever. L'Jarius Sneed. Damn, the Chiefs are gonna have to do a lot of stuff, man. T. Higgins, Mike Evans, Danielle Hunter. You got Danielle Hunter, Brian Burns, Jalen Johnson, Saquon Barkley, but they might throw the franchise tag on Saquon for another year, which would be $12 million for him. Then you got Josh Jacobs, who's going to be a free agency with the Raiders. I don't know if they're going to hold on to him because he really didn't have a good year this past year. And you got Michael Pittman Jr. from the Colts. So you got 1, 2, 3. You got 3 decent wide receivers right now. And I think they're going to be unrestricted free agents. So yeah. So the dates to watch out for are May 11th and May 13th. Not May 11th, May 13th. What the hell? I'm thinking about my birthday. March 11th and March 13th. Sorry, fam. Let's see. And your NFL draft is going to be on April 25th through April 27th. So Mill says, when's the combine? Let me take a look at that. I really don't watch the NFL combine too much. Okay. So it's taking place in Indiana. So that's right around the corner. That's Monday, February 26th. That's actually what? This Monday coming up. So that's when you got the scouting combine is the 26th, 2024 through March 4th of 2024. And it's going to be held in Indiana. So those are the dates to watch after. What's going on, Birdo? What's happening? But yeah, so those are the dates to watch after. March 11th is when they can legally get with these agents and holler at them and say, hey, what's it going to take to get them up off you? Terry can, wake up early that morning, get him a cup of coffee, black, because he said that's how he likes it, black, and start making calls. So I think the quarterbacks we talked about, he gonna make all 3 calls. When it comes to Justin, what's it gonna take? Yeah, well, we want for Justin, but listen here, we want your 8th this year. We want a 2nd rounder next year. That's when you hang up. I'm not coming off the 8th. I'm not coming off that. No. Well, if you want a number 1 pick, here's the deal. We want your 1st this year. We want your 1st last year, or 1st next year. We want a 2nd or 3rd next year, and God damn it, we want Young Waku. That's what it's going to take to move up to number 1. I'm hanging up the phone. I don't even want number 1. But Chicago gonna make some people look like stone cold psychotic fools to move up to 1. And I'm not saying they shouldn't. You should listen. You should ask for the moon. You should. But if you're gonna keep the number 1 pick, to me, it would be a lot easier for them to unload the 9th pick and move back and get more draft capital. That would make more sense to me. Keep your 1 pick, get your quarterback for the next four years with the 5th year option. You gotta pay this man peanuts for 4 years. Get up off of Justin Fields so you don't have to pay him the going rate for an NFL quarterback at this point. You don't have to re-sign him. You get draft capital for Justin Fields. So to any other team that's interested in Justin Fields, it makes sense for both parties. If you need a quarterback that bad, and a franchise quarter. You're looking for a franchise quarterback that can move the needle. The kid's young. The kid's got wheels. The kid knows how to throw the ball. He was just on a bad team for 4 years. And you got a coach that looks at him and says, I can coach him. I can coach him. It's a win-win for both teams, really. And from what we saw from Justin, your boy just wants this to be over. Three Dirty says, yo, Mark, great appearance with the 95 crew. Keep standing on logo business. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate them inviting me on as well, man. That was some good game that we had last night. But yeah, man, this to me, you know, the older I get, the more I really live for the off season. Like, y'all know when I used to be on Facebook, when the season was over, so was mine. I'm taking a break. Like, y'all wouldn't see me for months. Y'all would see me like at the draft. But when the season was over, I'm gone. I'd come back refreshed 2-3 months later, ready to get down to business. But now the older I get, the more it's like it's so much drama that goes on in the off season, fam. Because you constantly have players moving here, coaches moving here. You know, you constantly have this game of chess going on where you have no idea what's going to happen. So I thought about taking a little while off, but I mean, goddamn, it just keeps calling me back, man. It's always something. It's always something. So I appreciate everybody that's been, supporting the channel. Everybody that watches the vids, man, listen, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. For those that hop on here when I'm live, listen, fam, I know I sporadically go live. I understand that. I've always been that way. This is nothing new. I have always been this way. But I promise you, I will start getting on a schedule and I will start keeping it. But if y'all been rocking with me since the Facebook days, fam, y'all know I pop up like a zit. I just pop up. So, you know, to see people that hop on here when I go live, I appreciate it. For the people that watch me, that don't catch the live but watch it after it's over, I appreciate you guys, man. The love and support that y'all have shown your boy. You know, I am a smaller channel, and I don't mind that. I don't mind that. But it just shows me that, you know, a lot of people, you know, genuinely, you know, rock with me. You know, I don't have a lot of subscribers, but my numbers are more than my subscribers. So I know some people be watching, even the haters, you know, but I appreciate that as well, man. Raymond says, what's up, Mr. Pop-Up? Yeah, exactly. Antonio says, Mark, my brother, what's happening, fam? Country Boy says, I've been with him through his Facebook days. Yeah, man, we used to pop up all the time. But I promise you guys, I will be better about getting on a schedule, at least making, you know, like Sunday. The one thing I'm always going to be consistent on is Sunday after the game. That's it. You can book that. Win, lose, or draw, right after the game, I'm gonna be on here. But I think, you know, in the off season, I'm probably still gonna be on here on Sundays. Berto says that's 100%. Mark, keep grinding, fam. I appreciate that. Millie says, Mark, I think I'm going with option 4 and just give up the farm, move up to get my guy, and hope my scouting depth gets it right. My scouting department gets it right. Okay. You know, that's happened before. You know, we sold the farm to get Julio, and I mean that did us good. So I'm not against any option. Any option that somebody throws out there, I'm not, you know, against it. I'm not going to call anybody crazy or, anything like that, man, because, that could be the move. I might not want to go and sell the farm to go up to get 1 or 2. But then again, you sell the farm, you go get you go get 1 or 2, and they turn out to be a Patrick Mahomes like quarterback. You never know. You never know. So Quinn, what's going on? He says Josh wants to stay with the Raiders now that they got their coach. Okay. Yeah, and that's, again, Antonio Pierce is one of those guys. It's just like a Raheem Morris, man. Players want to play for guys like that. I'm a little low key mad that it took that long for Pierce to get that interim tag taken off. I'm not even going. Lie to y'all. That should have been immediate. Ark says selling the farm may lead you to Super Bowls in the future. Yeah, look at what the Rams did. Rams said F them picks. Put together a squad and won. So, any option that makes this team better, I'm with. Nobody's wrong. And nobody's idea is crazy. All these ideas can lead to a winning team. All of them can. So I'm just giving my 2 cents on what I think might benefit the team. But anyhow, fam, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. Your boy done worked up an appetite, and I'm gonna go get me some vittles, and I'm gonna enjoy the rest of my Falcon Wednesday. But I appreciate everybody being on here, rocking with your boy. We will listen. We'll be on here Sunday because I did tell you guys I wanted to go through the assistant head coach's press conference, and I did not do that. So I will do that because I do believe in showing everybody on the coaching staff some love. So let's say Sunday night, probably around 8-ish. Nothing's happening on Sunday. So yeah, Sunday night on 8-ish. I'll put it in the community page or on the community tab to let you guys know I'm gonna go on for sure on Sunday. And we'll see what the assistant coaches have to say. Chop up some game after that, man. And that'll pretty much be it. So with that being said and done, man, I'm out of here. Y'all enjoy the rest of your week. Peace.